This is Chris from Don't Let Them Burn. Welcome to the program. This is Paranormal Shift, episode 9. And before we get into our guest that you see right beside me, I'm going to take you on a little trip here. And this is this is our Parlor. Want to connect with us on Parlor if you're on there. Also, this is our store, Don't Let Them Burn. And you see the shirts there and whatnot, the mugs. This is how you can help us out after liking and subscribing and all that stuff, sharing. If you want to help us out with our documentary, this is how. Or there's links in the bottom. You can help us out other ways too. This is our Patreon. If you want to check us out there, help us out. This is our Facebook page. Look at that, we're live. How about
Nice.
that? So you can check us out on the Facebook page, and we post a lot of articles on the Facebook page. You can go back for days. This is our BitChute, same content, but if you want to escape YouTube sometimes, you can go to our BitChute channel. And today we have William Ramsey. As you see, he's been on our show twice. The first one was about Aleister Crowley's influence on modern culture. And the other one was about the smiley face killers, connecting to his documentary. So here we go. William Ramsey, how you doing?
I'm great. Thanks for having me again, Chris.
Yes, sir. Always good to have you. And your wealth of knowledge. You're coming out with another documentary, or is it already out?
Well, I put out 3 documentaries this year. I put out one on Children of the Beast, which was kind of based on my book. I did Prophet of Evil as well. They're all on video. On Vimeo, sorry.
Yeah.
So you can see that. Yeah, there you go. Hey, that's so. I did kind of. I think the documentaries kind of give people a visual kind of clue, or allows them to kind of see some stuff they wouldn't see in just a book. So
yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of what I've been doing. I've been kind of working on some other stuff, some stuff on Hollywood. Mm-hmm. And I kind of got sidetracked into kind of like more recent inquiries kind of into modern occultism, mainly through somebody who kind of came to me about this group called the Order of Nine Angles, and a pretty sinister group. It kind of fit and overlapped with my research into the smiley face killers, which I was talking to you about. So
yeah,
I've been doing some research on these individuals, and it's kind of fits in this kind of global perspective, this kind of unique environment we're in, where you and I can communicate across state lines, but other people can communicate, multi-jurisdictionally in different nations and stuff like that. So I've been involved in that, but I've been looking into the Hunter Biden stuff, which is really disturbing.
Yeah.
So I've been definitely researching and busy, but I've sent you those articles on all these individuals. There's been a recent murder that took place actually this month in Toronto by a guy by the name of, there you go, William von Nutjim. And this idea that these guys can casually murder people, this idea of culling, and it's an occult idea, and it comes through this group. It was basically formulated by a guy by the name of David Myatt, and you can see his name right there. Mm-hmm. But they actually just discern or distinguish themselves from other groups by their propensity for human sacrifice, and they call it culling. And it's very interesting because I think this group is really one of the groups that really grew due to the internet, and so it's really fascinated with me in that regard. But also because the guy who wrote it, Myatt, was familiar with Crowley and with the Temple of Set, which was by Michael Aquino. So, and there's actually stuff that this guy has had communications and writing pre-internet with people from the Temple of Set and Michael Aquino. But I think it's a very important group because it's also about white, kind of like they're like a white ethno state, but underneath that is this really harsh occultism. So they call it accelerationism, where they want to accelerate it's unbelievable. They want to accelerate the downfall of society to put in their ideal version of society. So
it sounds like Kabbalah.
It sounds like what?
Kabbalah.
Like Kabbalah?
Yeah.
Kind of. I mean, I think that they have this idea of like, it's kind of like old English kind of concepts. The guy who wrote it was very much into Greek mythology and Greek history. And so he integrated all these Greek ideas from the classics into this kind of group and things from like UK group. But he was, yeah, it was, it's very remarkable. But he really was pre-internet, but something happened and it took off in the internet. So you see these guys like this whole thing that went down in Charlottesville, right? The whole Unite the Right. One of these or two of these guys were members associated with the Order of Nine Angles. So they're like occultists, you know, like literal occultists fighting for what they call the third position, which is like a white ethno state. But they're violent, man. They're really dangerous, but they don't have to be a white supremacist to be in the Order of Nine Angles. It just so happens that some of these people are. Some of these people are just flat out occultists. So it's really strange how this ideology spread throughout the world and other people picked up on it and took it their own way. They just had 2 church burnings in Russia that were affiliated with people who were reading ONA material. Yeah. So, I mean, imagine a guy in England writing this, you know, 1,000 or 2,000 pages of material, and some kid, and it's almost always some kind of hapless 18-year-old, 20-year-old naive kid who reads it and goes, "This is for me," and they start acting out on it. So,
I'm going to show you something once I can get out of this here. That this is being circulated through the Black community by mail, right? Okay. And so it's about who's afraid of Black power, blah, 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 right? Mm-hmm. And then you go to this one, and it's wartime, right? Paid for, blah, 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 all this stuff. But guess who's, you see that? Paid for by the nine.
Wow. Wow.
Ah.
See, that's amazing.
Yes. So I got a hold of that the other day, and I was like, "Oh snap! This is real." So
do you know where those are? Who is associated with the 9, and how many mailers went out to into the Black community?
I don't know how many went out. They have something on their website. You know, I'll bring up their website really quick. They have a pamphlet. I didn't expect to talk about this. So give me a second.
Well, it's interesting because the way this ONA stuff, the ONA is an acronym for Order of Nine Angles. Mm-hmm. It like started as a pamphleteering thing. So somebody would get 3 pages of something, and then another 3, and it grew into a corpus and ideology. But it really wasn't. It was kind of like sharing ideas. But they have concepts in there where they're always supposed to lie to other people. Yeah, they have concepts in there of Hitler worship. I mean, it's really crazy.
Yeah, it sounds like some of the stuff from Islam where they're allowed to lie to move their, you know.
Yeah, right. That's right. That's a part of Islam too. That's right. There's like a doctrine for that. I forgot what it was.
Yeah, Taqit or something. I can't remember.
Yeah, I think you're right. No, that's good.
Black men build, and they try to stay away from words like communism, socialism, and whatnot.
Well, this is an incredible overlap to what I'm researching because they do the same thing. So they don't mention Hitler. They don't mention kind of white supremacy as much. But they have little terms that shield their meaning. So in the Order of Nine Angles, some of their rituals are like literal Hitler worship, but they don't say Hitler. They call it the year of Fian, which is the year of rejoicing, 1889. From the birth of Hitler. So all of their time, it's not AD, it's YF. It's really crazy. Yeah. But a lot of these occult groups, they shield their ideas. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, and I'm looking through this thing. I'm like, if I was a regular 20-year-old, you know, or whatnot, not knowing much, this would appeal. The wording is superb if you don't know what you're looking at. You know, I'm sorry it's taking so long to download, but has your research found out who the 9 are that are financing that? No, but I think I heard someone say, so I can't verify, but I heard it's connected to the Boule.
So that makes sense.
Yeah.
And have you heard that BLM is like really shields its connection to the Democratic Party? Yes. You ever heard that? Like, okay, so they do, yeah.
Yes.
I think that's one of the secrets because I think Van Jones like had some organization that two of the leaders who are into witchcraft. We can talk about that too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so they're literally communicating with spirits, voodoo, like literal voodoo, Nigerian witchcraft. So I think there's 3 women who are involved, and like 2 of them, like I laugh with this other demon spirit. I'm like, what? What are you talking about?
And they dress up like angels
Yeah.
in certain some of their presentations. It reminds me of what happened in Switzerland with the ceremony for CERN.
Right.
Remember?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
It looked just like that, the weird looking angel wings, and they're talking about summoning spirits and libation and all this other stuff. It's directly connected to the occult, obviously, and the Democratic Party and Marxism. They admit that they're trained Marxists. At least one person did, but it's obvious. It's obvious it's Marxism. So they didn't have to really tell me that. And then you have the Act Blue that funnels money from Soros and other corporations, but Black Lives Matter doesn't get all. Black Lives Matter Incorporated doesn't get all of that money. It's siphoned through to operate on different levels. Like there's another one called Sunrise. Millie Weaver has been doing a lot of um, basically some shows on exposing Sunrise, and it's Sunrise is basically targeting high school students, and then they'll end up using them as shields later on. They are purposely trying to get arrested and whatnot. So, and that goes into a bunch of different territories, but that's one everybody should know about Sunrise. It's very important, especially parents, because
Wow.
they're these naive kids to go along with this communist ideal. Of course, it goes into the green agenda and all these other things. But I mean, it has to be a spirit behind all of it, right? And
Yeah.
because you know that Marxism came from Satanism.
Right. I think there's a book titled that, Marx and Satan, or something like that. There's actually a recent book that talked about Marx and his ideas. He was writing poetry about Lucifer and Satanism and satanic ideals.
Yeah.
And even the symbol of the hammer and sickle is the scythe or scythe of Saturn, right? So Saturn takes the scythe through humanity and cuts it. So, and there's stuff like there's research where he flat out says like, yeah, I've created this ideology to overthrow governments and create chaos. I don't know what his exact verbatim words are, but Marxism isn't good. I mean, we live in really perilous times. I got to tell you, because there's a lot of things out there. If you're young and naive, and you could end up in some bad stuff. You do not want to get involved in ONA in any way, shape, or form, or occultism, really, for that matter, because terrible stuff.
Yeah. So here it is. I had it on my desktop, so I just forget to download. Wartime, issue 1, June 2020. Black Men's Survival Guide, Part 1, and they go into the
There's the Vitruvian Man, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of a cult in its own sense.
Yeah. Then they get all of these quotes from people that are passed, and that's the whole contents and whatever. And they go into wellness and self-defense and all this other stuff, but it's really about a war. That's and they all this coronavirus whatnot. Anybody that's watching, you can go download this blackmen.build. Like I said, the wording is very vague. It doesn't seem like it's communist, but it's there. It's there. So anyway, don't want to spend too much time on this thing, but
it looks like it's well put together. Like somebody had some technical knowledge, and
yes,
it looks good. Like it's clean.
It looks like they spend a lot of money on this.
Yeah.
So we know that from a long while ago, these same communist ideology, the proponents of communism, they used. It doesn't matter if it's black or Chinese or Japanese. They always use two groups against each other, and that's how they're able to overturn a government or a country at that. You know about Mao and what he did and everything.
Sure.
So it's all the same program. But to see when I saw the 9 on that thing, I said my eyes lit up. I'm like, oh my goodness, it's crazy.
It's an incredible number because it's like the power number before you go back to 10 is 9, and there's all kinds of occult things of like. I think the guy's name was Puharik. We're in contact with the 9. And if you go through Esalen, if you ever heard of Esalen, which is kind of like a new age spiritual center, kind of near in California, kind of, I guess it would be Carmel or something like that. but they were literally in contact with the Nine, and so many famous people went through there, like Timothy Leary, Robert Anton Wilson, even Charles Manson was there like 3 days before the Manson murders. So
Yeah.
Esalen is really weird, but this Nine theme does pop up, and I think Peter Levenda talks about that as well in one of his books, like this concept of like ascended masters or something like that influencing people. So that's
Well,
definitely not a Christian number.
I'll bring one up. Gene
Okay.
Roddenberry. I'm actually the stuff I'm going to show here. I'm actually researching for my documentary, but I don't care. It's public knowledge. Just people can't put it together sometimes. Um, Gene Roddenberry. He was in contact with something called the Council of Nine,
Council of Nine, yeah.
and they are the one that influenced him to write Star Trek.
Really?
Right?
Wow.
Yeah. And they weren't physical beings. It's a spiritual group. Of course, there's probably more than nine, but they called them. And I'm going to show you some evidence from the past why that guy you just talked about, he would mention Greek stuff or whatever. You're going to see
Right.
some
His name is David Myatt, Myatt.
Myatt. Okay, David Myatt. And so anyway, Gene Roddenberry got this idea from them, and Star Trek everybody knows Star Trek now. But what does Star Trek do? It's New Age themes. God, it could be anything that you want it to be. Q, the Q, remember from Next Generation?
Right, yeah.
In Star Trek The Last Frontier, you had this, they had to go to this planet way far out, and then in a cave, there's this godlike being looking like Santa Claus. Remember? I don't know if you saw that movie.
Yeah, I think so. That sounds familiar. I remember Q for sure.
Out of his eyes. As kids, we were dying at that movie because it was so stupid. But the lightning's coming out of his eye or whatever. So anyway, and actually Spock is a caricature of Satan.
Right, and I think that hand sign was from Jewish occultism too. Did you ever hear that?
Yes. And they would try to call down the spirit of God by doing, and they'd have to, hide their eyes or whatnot. But they're not really calling on the spirit of God. So anyway, there's that. So anything you want to say before I get into some of these pictures?
No, show it to me. I mean, I'm curious because I've heard the Nine and all these guys. I did a show about a lot of these science fiction guys who were all together.
Yeah.
Who all met at the same time. It was Hubbard, Stranger from a Strange Land, Heinlein. Yeah. Roddenberry's in that crew. He's in that same Los Angeles. Kind of was a nexus.
Yeah, this is from the comic books, so I don't know exactly who influenced this writer or whatnot, but obviously you're taking the Council of Nine, you got it from somewhere, and so this is basically a group. Let me just read it. In light of recent events, the Council has determined our best course of action is to shut down the Incidine program. The Council of Nine, also known as the Council, was a group of powerful businessmen and politicians who sought to gain power, wealth, and control from its members. They mainly operated in the United States of America through the manipulation of American politics and the economy. In 1947, Whitney Frost killed half of the members of the council, appointing himself as the leader of its remains. However, during her quest for the Dark Force, Frost was arrested by the SSR. So, this is comic lore, and we have that, right?
Right. And what comic book world is that from? Do you know?
Marvel. Marvel Universe.
Okay.
This is a whole wiki on it. They were in the films as well. As you can see here. So it's definitely I think this is from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., if I'm not mistaken, or what's that one? Oh my gosh, Maggie Carter, is that her name?
I don't know. I haven't called it
Carter.
Is the Marvel Universe also X-Men?
Yes.
Right? Okay, so that makes perfect sense then, because you know that the foundation of the X-Men and the X is all from the occult, and that the guy I don't know. Do you know who Peter Levenda is?
Yes. And you can explain that for the audience because they have no idea what you're talking about. Go ahead.
Okay, so Peter Levenda is a guy who supposedly wrote the Necronomicon, that was a book within this. It's kind of fits in with kind of today's stuff, which is the what's that show? It's actually a lot of African Americans are in it. It's more. What's that? Yeah, it just came out. It's what's the guy, the Call of Cthulhu? What's the
Oh, you're
author?
talking about Lovecraft Country. I'm doing
Lovecraft Country. Thank you.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's fully occult. So there's a tie into that. We can talk about the Lovecraft Country, but Lavenda wrote the Necronomicon, which is in Lovecraft mythos, but he was in this kind of New York place that was Nexus for Magic. It was called The Magical Child with an E. It was kind of like a New Age bookstore. But he was friends with the guy who started the X-Men, who wrote the X-Men. And you can see that X comes out. If you look at the Seal of Babylon by Aleister Crowley, you can see that same insignia. And so you can kind of look at the X-Men as guys with like magical powers or titans or transhumanists. You could view them as that. But if you pull up the seal, if you feel like it, you can pull up Crowley's Seal of Babylon and see that X right there.
I'm doing that right now for you. Because when you say to write up the X-Men, you're talking about the guy in the 80s, correct? You're not talking about...
I can't remember the author's name of who actually did the original comic of the X-Men, but I know that Lavenda knew him, and they were in that same kind of group.
Same circle, yeah.
Same circle, yeah.
I'm bringing it up here. Give me a second.
Babylon is spelled Bablon. It's a funny spelling. It's Crowley's spelling.
Oh, okay. Seal of Babylon. I got you right now, so people could actually see. All right. There's a seal of Babylon.
There it is. So you see that little circular X there. That's it. You see the 77. So the reason he changed the spelling of Babylon was to make it more Kabbalistically, numerically accurate. So he changed it. And so you see the 77s there. That's a huge number in Crowley. And that AA represents the Astrum Argentum or Silver Star, which references the moon. But that was really Crowley's own independent order, like a magical order. But it's not. It was almost kind of like a pre-internet way where you wouldn't have a group. The way that he structured it was, you would find a guy and he would initiate you, and now he would be the one person to train you if he took you on board. And so you'd never know anybody else in that group. It's pretty interesting concept. But you can see that that's where they got that X. Is it's all over the world now. I think the most recent X-Men movie was the highest-grossing film of all time, right?
The last one? Oh no, it actually bombed.
They bombed. Okay.
Yeah,
Which is the one that sold like $2 billion in sales? Do you remember?
X-Men? I don't think it was. You're talking about.
Maybe it was Avengers.
You're talking about the Avengers. Yeah.
I get it mixed up.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. But yeah, so people, it's the X-Men logo. This is the Seal of Babylon. I need to find. I don't remember the doggone name of the guy that actually made the logo, but Stan Lee is the one who created the X-Men. Okay. And as far as I can't bring up the book now to prove it to you guys, but he was going on acid. I think it was acid trips with one of these Huxleys or somebody like that. One of the brothers. Is Huxley that had the two brothers? Yeah.
So it was Aldous and what was the other brother's name? Who was at the UN? Aldous Huxley and his brother was Julian. Julian.
Yes, there we go. So Stanley was friends with him or whatnot, or acquaintances, and he's the one who made the X-Men. But later on, they adopted in the 80s. This became more pronounced.
Okay.
So that's when I started reading comics anyway. So
you know more than me. My comic book knowledge is not.
Yeah,
but that's interesting. I mean, these guys are all in LA at the same time. Huxley. Lee, Hubbard, all these guys. And this is pretty remarkable that they went back to Lovecraft as kind of these guys all, and it's interesting because he actually ties into the Order of Nine Angles because they're kind of cosmology or whatever doesn't just have Satan, it has all these dark gods that go back to Sumeria. So you'll see this really weird, like, almost Arabic type names of gods that go back to all the way back to the Middle East.
Yes. And then it goes back to Baal and some other gods as well.
Right.
So Biggie 21, I think it's Biggie or Big J 21. He pointed out it's Chris Claremont.
Chris Claremont. I think that's it. Yeah, there's an article with Lavenda and Chris Claremont. I think it is.
Yeah,
I have to go back and find it.
he said the artist for X-Men, Chris Claremont, study at the famous occult bookstore.
Okay, well that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's X-Men. This is Lovecraft country. This, for people that don't know, anytime you see a squid-like demonic entity, it's usually Cthulhu, or that's how you say it, Cthulhu?
Cthulhu, I don't know.
Cthulhu or Cthulhu, right? And it goes back to Lovecraft. He was talking about the great old ones. Really, he's talking about the old gods. And so this I'm actually going to be talking about this, Lord willing, tomorrow. We're going to do a review about the season that this came. It's very racially charged. The guy that wrote the book has this. It has really no connection. Not a real connection to Lovecraft. You know what I mean? He just took the lore and made a book off of it. And the funny thing is, it's racially charged, but Lovecraft, as far as I've been hearing, was a racist.
Really hardcore racist.
Yeah.
Really,
so
really nasty stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. If you want to, you can elaborate on that.
Well, I mean, I can't say I'm much of a Lovecraft, not knowledgeable about Lovecraft, but he definitely had an influence on the occult, because even though he was a fiction writer, so many people identified with this kind of universe that Lovecraft had, which was really like godless, sterile. There's these mysterious old gods that are terrifying and influence events. And there's all kinds of weird rituals. I've read The Call of Cthulhu, and it's almost like the ritual magic is involved, and traveling and, going back into these old kind of caverns and things like that. Like I think The Call of Cthulhu, something like that went on, or maybe one of these other in the Mountains of Madness or something like that.
Yeah.
But I think that the kind of subtext or the stories are all like very grim, godless, and man is just a tiny little peon in this terrifying, huge cosmos. I think that's almost the theme that goes through all of his books. Is they're subject to these horrible entities.
This is the inspiration for the TV show. It's written by Matt Ruff. Okay. And there you see the tentacles right there and whatnot. Then you see the KKK mask. But to me, bringing out this in the times that we're in is very insensitive, and I think they're trying to push something. Just like what's that? Watchmen, the TV series, very racially charged. A lot of things are very racially charged right now. I mean, these people literally had the most wacky white supremacists chasing them through this movie. I mean, it's not what it's all about, but they inject all of that. And it's actually kind of annoying, to tell you the truth. Yeah, some of that stuff happened and whatnot, and yes, there were atrocities and whatnot, but to bring this out at this time of racially charged division in our nation, I don't think it's wise, but it's not about being wise, is it? I think there's something going on where they want to charge us to fight against each other and be separated.
I agree with that.
Yeah. So as we move on back to the nines now. If you're late, we were talking about the nines. And we talked about Gene Roddenberry and what's this guy's name again? Sorry.
David Myatt.
David Myatt, right there. And so...
He's still alive. He's in his 70s.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, and I mean, a real nasty character. He was part of a group. I think they really were National Socialists, but they called themselves either National Action or something in the UK. He was raided. He was associated with a really dark event where a guy took a bomb, and it was the London nail bomber, they called it, incidents. I think it was in 2000 or 1999, before September 11th, 2001. But a real nasty character. You didn't really have a success in raising people to the National Socialist standard, but his occultism was much more popular, much easier digested by a wide variety of people. You may not know the core of it, yeah.
I find the theme of communism going through all these sci-fi writers. Not all, but you know what I mean? Like the early 20s and whatnot. Most of these guys are communists. I didn't know that. Including H.G. Wells.
Right. H.G. Wells was like a Fabian socialist or something like that, right? Which is kind of communist.
Yeah,
Fabianism is like the slow, incremental, introduction of socialism.
yeah. So, so we had this one from Marvel. It's for those that are just tuning in. It's Council of Nine. It's in Marvel Comics, and then this movie, The Nines, featuring Ryan Reynolds. Basically, he throughout the movie, you see the Kabbalah string there. They turned it green, but it's supposed to be red.
Right, right.
And so he has a spark of divinity in him from the Kabbalah, and so throughout the movie, he's having an awakening, visions, dreams. People are contacting him saying, "You're one of us." Anyway, and by the end of the movie, he manifests as a god and blah 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 blah. So
Wow. So it's like he's going up the ladder towards apotheosis or whatever godhood.
yes, absolutely. And so somebody pointed out the race war is called Helter Skelter. Yeah, I forgot to mention that. Yes, Helter Skelter.
Helter Skelter was in the Nines, is that right, or was it in something else?
No. He's just pointing it out while we were talking about it.
Okay, sorry.
What said? Somebody said I think Ryan Reynolds is Rothschild, if I'm not mistaken. It could be. I haven't done that research. Then we have this book, The Council of Nine: Briefing from Deep Space, and I think this is one of the books where you can actually find a lot of evidence on what's really going on there. So there's a group
It's
out
total
there.
New Age, yeah. It's
Yeah,
absolutely occultism, New Age.
yeah. Here goes another symbol for Council of Nine, and it's in different cultures, people. And as you're pointing out, there's a reason why they pick nine, even though we know that many fallen angels are around us. They have these divine councils, and there's a divine council in the Bible, by the way. There's a divine council where God had actually set the angels over the nations, and these angels did some bad stuff. So anyway, I haven't done all the biblical research on that, but they're there, and this is a recording group called the Council of Nine. They have one of their albums called Trinity. All right, here's another book. Idrashit.
So there's in like Indian kind of
Yeah,
influence.
exactly. This one right here goes off into Buddhism, Hinduism, another council. Right.
Right.
This is Egyptian.
Wow, yep. Nine gods.
Mm-hmm.
The Nile, all that stuff. Yeah.
And as far as I know, the Egyptians had 10 main gods, and then they had the lower gods, right? But here we have nine. What else? Another depiction here. That's obviously Hinduism again, and Buddhism, and all that schism into wisdoms, and look what comes up. I wasn't even looking for this. We talked about Star Trek, right?
Yep.
What else there? Okay, so the Council of Nine. In Greek mythology was Aphrodite, Apollo, Athena,
Wow.
Demeter, what's that? Hephaestus, Hera,
Hephaestus, yeah.
Hephaestus,
Oh.
Hephaestus, Hera, Hermes, Poseidon, and Zeus. And guys, listen, I can't prove this, but I'm digging. Okay.
But no, can you go back there just for a sec, because the Church of Satan pops up. So you have the Church of Satan, the Intergoverned Council is the Council of Nine.
Yes.
And so that's also important.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry about that.
No, it's cool. Politics, Republic of what's that? Sine? Sina. Then you got in fiction, you got Alliance Union Universe, and what's that? In role playing games, the Ascension, Mage, the Ascension, the Traditions, and all sorts of other stuff, right? So now this I can't prove it, because with the Justice League, you sometimes it's 7, sometimes it's 12, and other times it's 9. Okay, so I guess make with that what you want. But here's the issue. Going back to this account right here, a lot of these Justice League members represent those same gods. Flash is Hermes. This would be Poseidon.
Right.
This is Diana or Ishtar. Her name is Princess Diana. In some incarnations, her father is Zeus. Then you have Batman. Batman actually, I can't prove it right now, but I'm tracing it back to some type of Mayan or something god that's a bat. Of course, this guy is nothing but technology, and he's fused with magic from the mother box. This guy right here he was sent from a heavenly place
Right.
by his father, so he's
He's like
supposed to be a caricature of Jesus, but he's like more or less the Antichrist because that thing that looks like an S on his chest is really a dragon. Okay.
Okay.
So, and you can find proof for that a lot of places. Okay, if you want to go look that up. So, again, I can't prove that this is a Council of Nine, but they are related to the old pagan gods. And so, that right there ends my little slideshow on the council that I found today. Interesting.
Yeah, look up. Gosh, I mean, it's interesting because I think there's a tie into the Council of Nine with the Stanford Research Institute.
Ah,
You can type into Google Stanford Research Institute,
mhm.
Council of Nine. I think all those characters will pop up. Puharich and some of these other like families, people from very wealthy American families were involved in these seances and stuff like that. So I think there's actually like recordings of, or not like written transcripts of the conversations they were having with these beings. I got to find that again.
Yeah.
I don't know for sure.
Let me try to go into Google's little all. Okay. Let's see what pops up here. See if you're familiar with anything. It says Stanford Council of
Yeah, look at that.
UFO database. Okay,
Yeah.
this is interesting.
No. Yeah. See, so there's the entities for 25,000 years, alien presidents,
Uh-huh.
centered in the modern world, which is the advent of Christianity, correspond princely offspring of Anunnaki, Egypt's great Ennead, as well as Hellenistic Zeus. Yes.
Mhm. Yeah, so they've been around different cultures, and they all give the same message. It's about stopping your nuclear program, coming together as a world in one world religion or whatever,
Right.
and government, and also the Christians are a problem. We need to figure it
Right.
out.
It's like the UN. It's like the UN. Can you
Yeah,
scroll down and see what Society of the Nine says? Thanks.
yeah.
Indian Emperor, Secret Society of the Nine Unknown Men. See, so then you've got all over the world in separate cultures.
Mm-hmm. And what's this? The Nine Worlds.
Yeah.
Oh, this is good. I'm glad we found this. In the Kabbalah, you know how in Norse mythology, as they're saying right here, you have the nine realms.
Uh-huh.
It's also in the Kabbalah.
Right.
Yeah, I'll show you the book. I'll look up the book really quick to
But
show
if
you.
you can just go back there for 1 second, Chris,
Okay.
because
All right.
that was the person's whose name I was remembering is Lab 9. So if you looked at it, it says Lab 9 again, a research team for paranormal phenomenon, channeled a member of the Council of Nine in the 1970s, Andrea Puharich. That's who I was mentioning. In Glen Cove, Maine,
Okay.
called the Roundtable Foundation. Their team was called Lab 9.
Mm-hmm. And there goes Roddenberry again.
Yeah. And
Did
I
you say?
think,
I didn't hear you.
I was just saying that these are like occultist psychics, clairvoyants,
Mm-hmm.
Indian mystic named Vinod, and then this is their nine principles, right?
Yeah.
So just like you were saying, without even reading this, I'm an emissary of the nine. There are 9 principles of the universe. Together we are one.
The Ascended Masters, ufology.
Ufology.
In fact, you know what? Wasn't this Lab 9 in the Transformers movie or something like that? Oh, I gotta look that up. Transformers, the first one that came out, they had the hidden in the Hoover Dam, and they were 7 or 9. I can't remember. If anybody remembers, let us know. Okay, so ufology, we have the sighting of 9 UFOs in groups of 6 and 3. Were widely seen throughout the United States during the UFO flap of 1947, starting in the Pacific Northwest in 1989. Bob Lazar claimed to have witnessed 9 UFOs at Area S4 in Groom Lake region, Area 51. Interesting. I'm glad I found this. This.
No, there you go. I mean, got the basis of a book. I would like to know more about that original pamphlet that you sent or you showed me. Is where's
Oh
that
yeah,
from? Who's
I'm
really
gonna,
behind that? Like
yeah,
that would be fascinating.
I'm gonna look up another book here. The one I told you about, the Kabbalah. Um, Kabbalah. Kabbalah. I think it's Kabbalah Secrets that every Christian secrets. Right, and they talk about they even have some references that seem to be connected to artificial intelligence. Believe it or not.
Interesting.
So this is Kabbalah Secrets Christians Need to Know. And in there, I can't pull it up now because I don't have the book on my laptop. I mean, my desktop here. Um, but it talks about the kosher pig and God and Jewish mysticism. And this is one of the religions that's overlooked in a lot of places. This is very important that people understand this religion right here, because it's linked to Gnosticism and of course Jewish mysticism. And so the concepts in here are we're intertwined with these concepts today. And what they want to do is they want to foment a culture of depravity so that they can they can raise the Antichrist. Okay. You also see in the Fall Brothers film, what's it called again? Oh my goodness.
Which one was it? The Beast one?
Yes,
It was Belly of the Beast.
Belly of the Beast. Belly of the Beast. It's the same concept in there from the Masons. They want to raise an Antichrist, right? So I just find it very interesting. But I wanted people to really see that, and you to see it too, man. I think you should pick it up.
I think they would call it in the New Age. They would call it the Matria,
The Maitreya.
Maitreya, or
Yeah.
Maitreya, or whatever it is.
Hey, I read about that the other day in our review for Raised by Wolves. I think if you go look at that, you'll be blown away at how much stuff they have in there dealing with the Maitreya. In fact,
So Raised by Wolves has that too. Interesting. I'm talking to somebody about that tomorrow. I'm talking to
ah, the
my friend.
Mithraean, all that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's Mithraism, right? So
Mhm.
I've got his. I actually have his book right here. I'll actually promote his book right here. It's called. Maybe you
You can
should
do
have
it.
him on. You can talk to him too because he's super well read. His
Sure.
book is Raised by Wolves: War of the Worldviews, an
Mm.
examination of season 1 of the Aaron Guzikowski and Ridley Scott show.
Oh my goodness, yes. I wish I knew about him before because we I think we did like hour and a half trying to break down that, and it's a ton of stuff in there. We didn't cover everything, you know.
He made it.
So
He got a book on it. How many pages is this? 200 pages, pictures, the whole bit. Lots of references.
oh
So you can listen to it tomorrow when I post it, or you should have Ken on. I'll send you his email. I don't know if you know him or not.
no, I don't know him, but
Oh,
sure, I
I'll
don't
make you
mind.
the introduction if you'd like to talk to him. He has
Yeah, sure.
he does a lot of analysis on alien films,
Mhm.
a lot of stuff on a variety of stuff. You'd be a good guest, definitely. Kenemy, AMMI.
Okay, all right, no problem. So as we move here, let's get into I don't know. Okay, so we have here Aleister Crowley and human sacrifice.
And now I wrote that article because people always reference this one phrase in Magic and Theory Practice and then ascribe it to his magical workings, but he references other elements of human and child sacrifice in other parts of his, encyclopedic corpus and all those the vast amount of stuff that he wrote. There's other references to it, so a lot of people within who are sympathetic to Crowley will just hit you with like this one element, but they can't explain away the stuff that Crowley put in the world's tragedy, which is the tragedy to him is Jesus Christ,
Right.
and another book called Liber 66, which is kind of like how he would have his practice. He would lay out these books. Liber means book in Latin, so he would lay out like Liber 11, 175, which ties into 9/11 events in 9/11.
Yeah.
So all these different books with Liber 66, Liber 77, which ties into Babylon
Yeah.
that we had earlier. So I wrote this just to kind of contradict this kind of notion. I think that the occultists or Satanists have really been able to have the high kind of commanding heights of comprehending Crowley, and actually were very deceptive in the public in explaining really what the totality of what he wrote. So part of what I do with Crowley is say, hey, why are you guys omitting this?
Yeah.
And it's kind of like what George Orwell said, omission is the greatest form of lie. So if people are omitting these things from explaining Crowley's ideas on sacrifice, they're not addressing what he wrote. And these are just the public documents that people have access to. Some of these occult orders have information that we don't know. They're orally transmitted, meaning they're just talked to each other, so they're not in writing. So it's nothing you'd ever see.
Right. And all these channeling of beings or whatnot. You got Lamb.
Oh, tons, yeah. Crowley had tons. The Order of Nine Angels or Angles is trying to presence these old gods. They're literally doing rituals and trying to create just to accelerate the destruction of the world, so they can put in their own political group that would be like what Hitler did, slave society, just horrible stuff. Like, So these aren't good people. It's interesting. The Order of Nine. Yeah, I mean, it gets really dark. But they busted this guy Meltzer. I sent you that thing. He was going to try to set up his friends or people in the military to be shot, and then and this is all at the same. I think it's the Southern District of New York that handled Epstein, Maxwell, and Weinstein. So he was arrested there and sent there, and is being prosecuted. So he's going to go away for a long time. But he had O&A literature. He had a picture of the Sinister Tradition book was right on his desk. So he's clearly reading this and getting really lousy ideas. They have this concept within the Order of Nine Angles called an insight role. So you become an occultist, but then you go join Islam, or you go, that's Sheldon Sampson. This is him right at Charlottesville. So these are sinister characters, but you go and become a member of a right-wing Christian group. You become a member of something, but you're still a member of the ONA. So it's almost like camouflage.
Right. And there's evidence of, for decades now, of witches or whatnot, whatever they want to call themselves, coming into evangelical churches and turning it upside down. They'll sit there and they'll say the incantation, or they'll start gossiping, whatever thing they need to do to destroy a church that's biblically sound. Because the rest of
I've actually read about that in a couple instances. Some people have talked about that.
Mm-hmm. And before we go on a little bit, I want to still promote this book here. This is Children of the Beast. You need to pick this up. I think it's one of the most in-depth books on Aleister Crowley. It is a little graphic. It is a little graphic, but I think if you're not squeamish, if your nerves don't go crazy when you hear about stuff like this, this is for you. But don't if you're not ready for it.
I 100% agree with you. However, some people think that these guys don't do this stuff, and I think you can see the citations in the book. There's like 800 citations, and I show that these guys are into blood. They're into blood drinking. They do that. They really do. They admit it. So I think that's the proof. And like you can see that these people who are cultural figures are into the occult. They're trying to change the culture. They're actively involved in bringing about whatever the Antichrist, destroying the culture of the country. They're almost all anti-Christian, just like Leary and all these other people think that, they always have this really, and Hubbard, they have this, it's inevitable that they will hate Christ. So you can see that this kind of spiritual battle takes place. It's taking place in the 20th century. It's really battle right now. It's a spiritual battle. It plays out physically or whatever.
Yeah, but people refuse. Well, let me not blanket it. A lot of people refuse to realize the spiritual connections. Of course, a lot of them are not saved or whatnot. But even within Christianity, it's like a thing where, this cannot be real. It's conspiracy theory, blah, 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 blah. And, it gets tiring trying to prove to people that these people are that wicked. And all you have to do is go back and forget Crowley and whoever. Go back through history and you'll see the same thing. and it always leads to human sacrifice or some sort of nation that's full of debauchery, including the kids.
Right.
So,
No,
and
but you're right. You're so true, and you can read that right out of the Bible. Just go read the Old Testament and the conflicts between ancient Israel and some of these other communities or nations states that were by them, whether
yeah,
it's the Babylonians or anything. And
yeah,
on child sacrifice, what is it? What's the god that they sacrifice to? I mean, these things happen.
Moloch and Baal.
Moloch and Baal. Thank you.
Yeah,
So, yeah, I mean, it's just hard. I think it's hard for people, and I think it includes me too, to like, is this really what's in front of your face? Is this happening? So it's hard to think it, but I think that my intent on writing these articles or even that book is like, here's the historical. This is a real fact. This is evidence.
yeah,
These guys are up to that. So
yeah.
you don't see it publicly.
Right. I think, and people are purposefully covering this stuff up as well.
True.
You know, you have occultists online saying, "Oh no, the Christians got it wrong. Crowley wasn't this disgusting dude. He was a great guy." And so, same thing with Anton Xander LaVey, and you can name them all. They're all good. No, they worship Lucifer, and they do disgusting things, including having sex. Okay, I can't say it because of YouTube's algorithm, but the little ones. They touch the little ones. Okay.
I mean, you can look at my documentary on Crowley. I mean, it's bad. The stuff he admitted to is beyond evil. It's the most despicable, most evil, vile things that he was involved in. So kind of whitewashing Crowley is it's. I mean, if you know all the facts, I can't believe anybody could really find that defensible. So this is a good idea. I mean, just a good example. If you look at this guy Sheldon Simpson, he went from 9/11 truther into the National Guard, into this black sun. This is a hyper occult symbol that the Nazis used. This black sun symbol that is supposed to bring in energy from some dark realm into the world.
It's like sigil magic.
Yeah, sigil magic. This is very dark, evil stuff. And what's really scary about this guy is I think that based upon what the information I have, he's still under investigation from the FBI, and he admits it.
Wow.
But from the information I had, he became a white supremacist involved in the ONA and then joined the military. So that he joined the military, he actually, believe it or not, was in one of the National Guard units that was stationed at the White House this year to quell the riots in Lafayette Park, right across from the White House.
Wow!
So this is like recent. This is very recent stuff. He admits right here. I got to call my FBI agent. He was approached by FBI, 2 members of the CIA, and a military intelligence officer. So our government is actually wisely looking into these dangerous guys. These guys will lie all the time. They will lie like a rug and avoid anything they do. They're actually smart enough to use encrypted Telegram messaging. Some of these other groups, the ONA definitely use PGP encryption. Pretty good protection, like super high. Well, it used to be some of the best available encryption out there. But what's really scary is I think that was part of his ONA thing. Is my opinion. Is that they recommend you become this insight role, this weird concept where you take on another personality for 6 months. I think his insight role was to join the National Guard and get that training, right? So he's getting, and how long he's going to do that, I don't know. But this guy, according to some information that I have, he was in the same occult group as Ethan Meltzer, who was arrested this year and is in federal prison. He's going to end up in federal prison. I don't think he's been charged yet. But they're in this guy's from Ohio. Ethan Meltzer was from Kentucky, I think, so fairly close. Not super close. But I think they were associated with this ONA. So it's a very, I would say, for people, it's important to understand what these guys' ideas are. And here he is he has a fake name, Zoltanus. This is like a modern fascist kind of interview people on YouTube. You can just hear him talk all about it. I mean, this is super recent. This is like June. So these guys are out there. And some of these ONA doctrines they're against the law. Like they believe they're above the law. Yeah. So the law is for other people. We are a law unto ourselves, is what some of the writing says. So, really, I mean, it's really incredible. Like there's just events that are coming. They're like more and more ONA members are being thing, but it's almost like a Darth Vader, Darth crew or something like that, where they don't reveal themselves. They don't try. They deny everything. But it's also, like I said, stated earlier, it's something that occurred within this whole idea of mass communications, the internet and everything like that, where they can communicate and really share ideas. I think that may be the same with all these other kind of subgroups or stuff like that. But
Yeah, I mean, because just like how we spread the gospel through the internet, and we got apps and all this stuff, they're going to do the same thing. And so there's an upswell that people aren't really grasping when it comes to the occult, the witches, whatever you want to call them. It's the movement is massive, and it's in every industry, whether you know it or not. Okay, so you can go on YouTube and say, "Oh, I want to look up drawing." Here comes a witch with a pentagram around her. Like, oh my goodness, this is blatant nowadays. And they go through Instagram. Oh, there's a big witch community on Instagram, big occult community, very big, and they're reaching out to, guess who? The usual people, the youth.
youth, yeah, naive, impressionable,
Hmm.
misguided, maybe don't have a broad frame of reference. I mean, if you look at all these ONA guys, they probably all fit the same profile,
Yeah.
disaffected, maybe not headed for a traditional career. And so they fall into these,
Yeah.
picked up these kind of more, this is definitely a right-wing radical group. I mean, if they had their way, I don't think that they would try to maintain the republic.
Oh no, no, because they take on the thing of white right wing, but they're really, communist. It's just like how Antifa says, "Oh, we're anti-fascist," and we know the flag goes back to Hitler. Let me bring that up real quick. Because I don't think the information on this stuff is lacking. Okay, Antifa flag.
Yeah, but it wasn't the anti-fascist flag? It's a communist flag, right? It's
Right.
like a
It's
communist
Hitler.
affiliated.
Yeah. Antifa flag. Hitler. Um. All right. Here we are. Okay. So, what's going on there? All right. Here we go. So right here, this is the newest Antifa flag. Okay, the one you see all the time, right? Anti-fascist, right? This is this is not this is not new. Okay.
Right. Goes back to the 30s or the 20s or something.
Yeah. This. Look at that. It's right there. This is not people. They're just reinventing themselves, and they're saying that they're anti-fascist, but they are the fascists. And then they project everything that they really believe onto you, just like the modern day leftists or leftists. They'll say you're a racist, you're a racist, you're a racist. No, you're the real racist. So they project all of that stuff on you, just like how they project Russia, Russia, Russia on President Trump. It's the same thing. If you go against feminism, oh, you're misogynistic.
Right.
Oh, I'm not. I just reject feminism. Or if you say anything about alternative lifestyles like homosexuality or whatever else, oh, you're a homophobe, a thisophobe, a thataphobe. Everybody's a phobe. It's not true. So, but you bring up Christianity and see how fast they become a phobe.
Right. Oh, it's so true. They hate Christians.
Yeah.
These anti-fascist types. Communism and Christianity do not coexist. I mean, if you look at all of these communist takeovers, any country, whether it's China, Russia, Cambodia, all anti-Christian, man. They went after the Christians. They persecuted the Christians. If they didn't kill them, they drove them out. They burned churches in Russia. There were huge tortures of like very benign Orthodox priests. They would just kill them all. It was terrible.
Yeah.
Super abusive. Burn down old relics and stuff like that. So they really want to re-change everything. And I think that's a scary aspect of anti-fascists is they would probably, if they could do it, pull it off, they'd probably burn down any church in this whole country.
Yeah,
The
and that's the thing. They have to get rid of the church first. You know, this black fist thing. It's always connected to something communist. Always. Do not be mistaken. Always. If you're in some group that uses this thing, it's fascist, communist, socialistic, whatever. It's been used everywhere around the world, and now it's found itself since the, I believe, 60s in America. They set up these groups to cause problems, and it's always linked to the occult in some way. Believe me, always. And it doesn't mean, when I say the occult, I don't mean like it has to be what Black Lives Matter is doing today. It could be just something out of Africa that's dealing with Afrocentricity, and it's linked to some god that you never heard of. Okay, it's been used in the Caribbean, and many of these political parties are using the terms that seem well, like People's Political Party or something like that. National Party for this, that, and other. Every time you hear those terms, you're gonna see either these black fists or some sort of communist agenda, and it's always linked to the occult. So, since we've taken a little political turn, just a small one,
It's
you want to
important.
get
These are timely issues. I think
yeah,
it's important to address.
you want to get into. I don't know if you want to come back and do something on what I call the pizza people, or you want to talk
Yeah,
about that
let's
now,
yes.
or you want to go into Hunter Biden. Which one?
No, let's do pizza first. Then we can talk about it.
All right. Okay, go ahead. You shoot.
Would you want to talk about Pizzagate and all this pizza symbolism and all that stuff?
Yeah, sure. Because I call them the pizza people because of YouTube's algorithm.
Oh, that's smart.
Yeah.
Okay. So the pizza people, it's like a weird symbolic underground. It goes back to the whole events before the election, the release of the Podesta emails, probably done by Seth Rich, who paid the price for it, and really kind of changed the election because in those emails they talked about spirit cooking with Marina Abramovich, which is like pig's blood and stuff like that. That was exposed. They're also within. You can just search the on WikiLeaks. You can search the Podesta emails. They were talking about thelema in that, which is a Crowley term meaning will. So somebody asked Podesta for a thelema. I've never heard that as like in that context before, but just the fact that that term showed up, and they also used the term map with an acronym MAP, which is I think stands for minor. It's like a It's like a new term for. Instead of pedophile, you're a minor attracted person. So it's like
yes.
it's in those emails. And he's talking to Dennis Hastert, who got convicted of all kinds of sexual abuse. So there was a big mess and never properly investigated by the government. It was all supposedly debunked. It was all, all kinds of weird terms were used against it. This lady, I mean, have you seen the picture of her with a pentagram on her stomach and stuff?
I've seen the one with the goat.
Yeah. Blood, all kinds of bones.
Self an artist, right?
I mean, I call her now witch. I have a book about her where she used to go into like haunted closets and talk to spirits. So she's definitely. I mean, and they say I think there was a term either her or somebody where these guys, these performance artists, don't look at their art as mere art. They look at it as a ritual. They say that, literally say that. And I think Genesis P. Orridge, who is a Crowley devotee, who's in my book Children of the Beast, also talked about that. He was doing all kinds of weird, creepy, sick stuff. So, so there's the sharp knife, and that supposedly ties into you eat the pain. If you look at the fingers of Podesta, go look up, type in John Podesta fingers. He looks like he's cutting his hands. They don't look normal. Like he looks like somebody who's broken his hands multiple times. It's really strange. I mean, pull it up. Like if you look at my hand, I do not have a worker person's hand. I have like a soft writer's hands, very uncalloused. But look at John Podesta's hands, man.
I'm bringing it up right now. See what we can find here.
Got an infamous picture of him. Yeah.
Which one are we looking for here?
Yeah, there it is. 14 in the fish.
Mm-hmm.
Look at his weird hands.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like, see, like he's broken. Like his pinky looks like it's been broken multiple times.
Yeah.
Like he has abnormal hands to me. And then that 14 fish actually, somebody told me that ties back into Egyptian mythology, where I think that Osiris was was
Yes.
cut into pieces, right? And then thrown in the Nile, and the fish ate part of his anatomy. Is that right?
Right. And they use the number 13 because the 14th piece is the phallic, and they can't get it. In fact, you know what? I got to bring up something really interesting right now. What was that
But no,
movie?
tell me, Chris. Do his hands look unnatural to you?
Yes.
Okay, because they look
Yes.
unnatural.
The movie with Will. Oh, here it is. Sorry, guys. I'm gonna look this up real quick. Imp Awards, and let's go. This movie right here. You guys noticed the movie? Okay, you know this movie,
Uh-huh.
right? He is Horus,
Really? Wow.
and the lady that he's searching for in the movie, that's Isis, and they can't get together, they can't unite, right?
Right.
Because it's an allegory for that penis thing. Okay,
Wow.
so they've been also in the comic books, Hawkman and Hawk Girl, I think it's called, in DC Comics. It's the same people. Okay,
Interesting.
so they have a problem uniting, being together, and anyway, by the end of the film, they say that they used to call us angels or demons or whatever, basically bringing to the audience who they really are.
Wow.
And this is where we get the term soulmate.
Wow.
And when you get find a soulmate, you're finally getting together, supposedly because you've been searching for each other for so long. That's the Osiris and Isis
Wow.
theme, right? So,
It's amazing.
so
Look,
that's where
Hollywood is super occult. It's incredible how much like people are being exposed to this stuff.
yeah.
Wow.
So if you watch Hancock, you'll see the themes now that I've told you. It's always going to be some sun theme with the eagle, or the eagle represents a phoenix, and all this other stuff. It's weird stuff, but once you know how to maneuver around the definitions and the symbology and whatnot, you'll get it very clearly. Okay, so okay, so pizza people.
So then, I mean, if you go back, this guy James Alefantis was supposedly one of the top 50 most powerful people in Washington, according to I think Washington Times or one of the local magazines. And he was a literal pizza procurer. All he did was had a pizza shop called Comic Pizza with
uh,
weird occult symbols on the front,
yeah,
moons and stars and stuff. And so
yeah,
people didn't know, but he was very well connected. The guy was in the art industry. He had also restaurants in Germany, so he had international kind of international contacts. But also on his Instagram account, which freaked people out because it had all this pizza symbolism
this
and
one.
like, yeah. So that's Comet, correct? You see the moons and stuff,
Yes.
the moons and
Yeah.
the half moons
Yes.
and stars, and it's literally a downward facing pentagram. I mean, there's
Yeah.
no doubt about it.
Yeah.
So if you're a Christian, this is kind of like bad omens. Like, but I mean, even the artistry on the walls was weird.
Oh my gosh. Are
Like
you
it looks like
serious?
something from like a drawing from True Detective or something like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, so I mean, now I think Americans are more willing to accept the idea of human trafficking and weird things that are going on. I'm not saying that that happened in Comet Pizza. I am saying that should have been investigated. It was super creepy. But the symbolism of all that, the comet within certain communities is a relationship that burns very bright and then tapers off. The
Yeah.
ping pong has been used in the movie Lolita. All kinds of ping pong is a really weird symbol and has really dark connotations to it. So, and all these people are involved in that. Podesta and Hillary Clinton is in that area, pictured in that area.
Yeah.
So there's like a little kind of a wink and a nod of what these guys are really up to. And the Instagram account it said really strange stuff. It talked about Haitian sauce. Like, who talks about Haitian sauce? Like, there
Yeah.
were coded words like you would talk in the mafia or in some kind of occult group. And there was actually one in the context of Epstein that mentioned Little St. James. I think it said something like Little St. James. So they knew about Epstein back then in 2016.
Yeah.
And I wish I could find that. Like, you could see this reference, but I mean, you just look at this. This is just totally perverse. Like,
Yeah. And for those that don't know, this is paintings that Podesta owns, right?
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So and it all came out of the emails that were leaked, and then people just researched it, just like this Hunter Biden stuff. So I mean, back then, this was actually, I think, swayed the election when people figured out that John Podesta, who was Hillary Clinton's campaign manager, was going to a meeting with this witch. They were like, and blood drinking, like literally, it was like a conspiracy theorist, like the curtain suddenly opened and you saw everything clearly. Like,
Yeah.
whoa, this is what everybody's been talking about. Here's the
Yeah.
proof.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
um,
You know, the sex trafficking, the all human trafficking and whatnot. If you, it's not it, right now. We're fighting a war against that stuff. But I'm going to bring up. I brought it up before in another program. A Bible verse talking about. Let me go to Bible.com real quick. Talking about how human trafficking basically won't stop until Jesus comes back. You know, it's nothing new. Uh, they remind black people, black Americans about. I'm not black American. I'm from Jamaica, moved over, grew up here. So I wasn't saturated with the whole, stuff that people got to be constantly reminded of, because they want to turn us against each other, and they have to use that to agitate black Americans. So anyway, I think it's Revelation 18.
I would say that the U.S. is kind of like a new Rome, so almost like an imperial empire power. It kind of deceives itself by saying it's a Christian country and culture and all this other stuff, but it really operates kind of like Rome. So all these things that happen in Rome happen today: human trafficking, political murder, all kinds of conquest for money. So it's kind of sad to see that like trafficking is that overt. So.
Yeah, I remember when I first started this program, close to 7 years ago. We were finding articles about how they would do Super Bowl busts at the stadium,
Right.
sex trafficking.
Yeah, no, that's true.
I was like, what? So understanding all this stuff, it takes some time, okay? But here's the thing: we are not talking theory. We're
Right.
talking facts. There are conspiracies. There have been conspiracies since the dawn of man, and conspiracies used in courts. Okay, so don't let the CIA, who made up the terms conspiracy theory, blind you from the truth.
They
Because
made that about at JFK, right? So they
yeah,
call
ever
Russian
since then,
conspiracy theorists.
yeah. I'm trying to find the verse here still, but you can go on about some more piece of stuff, and I'll find it real quick.
The thing is that people got opened up to all these symbols, these pizzas, hot dogs, these weird terms, these kind of groupings of people. I mean, I didn't know much about that, but also the fact that some of these things just don't get researched. I mean,
Yes.
they get researched. The government doesn't get involved in doing that, because I thought there was enough there to necessitate a real inquiry. But it's a shame, and I think that it's just incredible. You just wonder what happened to some of those kids or what they covered up. But I mean, I think it ties into kind of like these Hunter Biden, that stuff on his laptop. If it's all real and it's not just a big kind of like psyop, it's really bad what they're posting on.
Well, you know what? Some of it you can't prove it's him. Others you can. I've seen enough, and I don't want to see no more. Okay, but they're also in some of these videos, a Chinese person that's, because they're Chinese nationalists that want us to be free America. They don't want us conquered by China, and they're saying that what's coming after the election, America won't survive. I'm not saying it's going to happen, so don't get scared, people. But there are uprisings planned for election night and afterwards. So listen, we're in the fight for our country,
Yeah,
and also this human trafficking stuff is a part of all of that stuff. You just have to do the research. There's been so many arrests, from cartels to miniature groups or whatever, little cells, and it's bad. It's bad. And Trump has actually put together a group to fight human trafficking, and the mainstream media will not cover it. That
so
tells you
true.
there's a systemic problem, and it's not racism.
No,
Okay.
that's true. They just had a huge bust in Ohio of like 175 people. So they rounded up 175 malefactors in Ohio. I forgot the guy's name, Mirror or something like that. He was
Mm.
involved in human trafficking for like 20, 30 years. He was an attorney. He got away with it because the whole city and all of his pals were also involved. So nobody busted. They never just busted him, and they just got popped. So kudos to that. There's been a lot of arrests. I mean, particularly Epstein and Maxwell as well. We don't even know how many people Epstein trafficked, thousands. And
Yeah.
what happened to those kids? He was taking people out of Venezuela, like really impoverished countries. So,
Yeah, that's the thing. They always feed off the poor, man. I mean, sometimes they go to wealthy neighborhoods or whatever, middle class neighborhoods, and they groom these girls that are in high school that have no clue. They've been never been taught anything called street smart, and they get groomed. And next minute, they're selling their bodies. They never thought they would, but then now they are. You know,
they
and
turned the screws on them real tight. Like, hey, you want a job? I've got this great job. You can make money. And then next, they're in this environment and they get afraid. They can't get out.
yeah,
So
and
I mean, yeah, they were. I mean, in Epstein's case, they were like predators in like high schools and stuff, and they just made all these false promises. So we'll see what happens with this whole Maxwell. When she did her deposition in 2016, I don't think she told much truth.
yeah. Oh yeah, I listened to the show you did with another person on that. You were saying that, yeah. Well, this right here is Revelation 18. This is around the fall of Babylon. Whether you think whatever you think Babylon is, this is the fall of that. Okay, and it says, and the merchants of the earth weep and mourn for her, since no one buys their cargo anymore, cargoes of gold, silver, jewels, pearls, fine linen, purple cloth, silk, scarlet cloth, all kinds of scented wood, all kinds of articles of ivory, all kinds of articles of costly wood, bronze, iron, and marble, cinnamon, spice, incense, myrrh, frankincense, wine, oil, fine flour, wheat, cattle, and sheep, horses and chariots, and slaves, that is, human souls. So this doesn't end until Jesus returns, or Babylon falls, or whatever you want to say about it. So I found that interesting about a year or two ago, and I was like, this has been in front of me the whole time, and I didn't see it. You know.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's very interesting, and got maybe about, I don't know, 15 minutes or so.
Sure. Yeah.
So
Do you want to take some questions? Is anybody on the other thing?
anybody want to ask some questions from Facebook, Pinterest, not Pinterest, but Periscope and YouTube? You can ask some questions. This man is well researched, so go ahead and ask away as we continue here. This is about the cult culture that we live in, that's been boiling up since the 20s, something like that, and it exploded around the 60s and 70s through Aleister Crowley's teachings, Anton Zander LaVey, and a whole sorts of other people. Hinduism came in through the Beatles. The celebrities, again, they started to take on yoga and all this stuff, and it wasn't popular then, but it exploded over the next decades or so, 40, 50 years or whatever it was. And now you can't go anywhere and not see yoga. It's in medicine. The Kabbalah is there too. That's in your corporate offices, in your mood boards, in your vision boards. These concepts come from there. And I'm not saying you can't make a plan for the day, but these concepts come out of the occult, like a vision board. It's like you put up this board and you put, say, a vacation spot, a car, a big house, all these things, and you meditate on that. You meditate on that because you want to manifest it into your life. That's the occult. You either say the word, paint the picture, or whatever, and you try to manifest this thing into your life. And pretty much, the concept doesn't belong in your home if you're a Christian, right? But I know Christians personally that are into this stuff. So go ahead.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that you'd be shocked how much like stuff from modern culture, films, and things like that are come out of the occult, or come out of New Age ideas, which is really based in the occult. So, and I think that change in culture is intentional to facilitate these things that are going to happen in Revelation in time, maybe not in our lifetimes, but I think that you can just see within the last quarter century the breaking down of borders, communication. So I think that they're always just going to kind of keep moving and pushing humanity forward through the occult and getting people to agree with their ideas to that kind of end of the world kind of time of the kind of like the Antichrist and all that. I think that's really where the people are headed.
Pretty much,
So,
yeah. Somebody's asking how do the Jesuits fit in?
well, I mean, I think if you want to look at the really broader, there's a really good graphic about like the pyramid and all these little pieces that facilitate Babylon in a real broad political perspective. Maybe not so much as in Revelation, but if you have that kind of view where the world is Babylon, I think the Jesuits are part of it. I think the Scientology is part of it. Skull and Bones, all these different occult orders and groups, kind of all come together to make this this global structure. And very few of them are really those groups are really Christian groups, like kind of humble, not huge mega churches, but you don't see that the Christians influencing this kind of world. And I think that, yeah. So if you really see the world as kind of like at this time before it all changes, is which kind of like it's Satan's empire. I think that pyramid makes a lot of sense. So the Jesuits themselves facilitate this Catholic kind of worldview. That's part of, I think, in a lot of ways, the Catholic Church hasn't really lived up to sound biblical gospel doctrine. So
Yeah, that's a whole nother show.
hey, if you want to freak out, go look at St. Peter's Square. They have a huge obelisk in the middle and the sundial.
Yeah.
It's off the charts, occultism. Like, doesn't anybody see this? And then you see this huge mass of people walk in there for special holidays, and they're just being assaulted by these graven images and all this stuff. It's and it's really just shows it's a worldly power. It seems like a much more world power than looking at some kind of Christ's kingdom, Christ's heavenly kingdom.
Yeah, this is St. Peter's Square, and the thing here is the same. It's the obelisk. I'm trying to get a picture for you guys. It's the obelisk, the same as the Washington Monument. Okay, it's the same thing. It's Baal's shaft. All right, it's Baal's shaft, but it got a cross on top of it, and below it is the eight-spoked wheel. I think some people call it the wheel of Lucifer. Sometimes it's a wheel have to do with the equinoxes and whatnot, right? The changing of the orders, but this right here would be the representation of the woman's vajayjay, okay? Because
so there's always that circle and the obelisk, right?
Yeah,
like Washington.
Yeah, exactly. So, good point that you brought up there. Another question is, are there?
Interesting. Just to add to that obelisk, my understanding is that it was brought from Egypt to Italy 2,000 years ago by Caligula. So he had that packed up and brought up, and Caligula was like this monstrous emperor, and it wouldn't be something that I would want to have associated with the church. Also, Caligula had like this boat. He would go out in this boat and supposedly conduct human sacrifices. I got to confirm that. So that obelisk is not. It's not a Christian
symbol
at all. It's the opposite. Yeah. I don't know. Sorry.
Yeah. It's also, you'll go to cemeteries and you'll see a ton of these things because you have Masons buried there, Jehovah's Witness buried there, because they were the founder of Jehovah's Witness he was into Freemasonry, and the guy or woman that founded also Seventh-day Adventism or is into Freemasonry, and I can go on and on and on about this thing, but you'll see it in a lot of cemeteries. Someone said, is there a monument in London too? I'm not sure about that.
It's called the Cleopatra's Needle. Can you look up Cleopatra's Needle? It's right on the Thames.
Yeah, I'll
It's
do it.
in line. It's interesting. The reason I know that is because Crowley did some ridiculous, like, public stunt in front of Cleopatra's Needle,
Mhm.
and yeah, that's it. And I believe that's from Egypt as well.
Yeah,
You can
I
look
think.
it up in my book, Prophet of Evil, where he just did something where like the world's going to change. He did 2 rituals on the same day, very public, with this kind of co occultist Gerald York. But yeah,
Right.
definitely the.
Yeah. So I think we have another question here. Okay. Um, the person says, "Are there very many celebrities who don't prosper without pledging allegiance to Satan?"
I think there are a few. I think that actually they had Matthew McConaughey on Joe Rogan, and he made his Christian testimony. I thought that was interesting that he brought that up. I think Rogan asked him stuff like, "How does that play in Hollywood?"
Yeah.
So I think that they keep it kind of. They're not very open about it. I think Chris Pratt is a real, very serious Christian as well.
Yes. Yes.
So,
Yes.
but I would say that they're in a minority, definitely.
Yes. Definitely. Yeah. Because even Mark Dice, I can't remember if he was going to do a TV show or whatnot in his early days. I believe he's in his 40s now, and they wanted him to sign his name as blood, and he
For
wouldn't.
real.
Yeah,
Wow. I didn't know
yeah.
that.
So yeah, you can find that stuff in Mark Dykes' book, and sometimes he talks about it on Alex Jones show or his own channel. Mark Dykes is a real. He's a Christian.
I think
Um,
he just wrote a book about Hollywood too. I
yeah,
kind of saw that, so I need to check that out.
yeah. I'm gonna actually pick that book up on Kindle probably. Let's see what else is down here. Da-da-da-da-da.
I think I got it like.
You're fine. I gotta go get grandma.
Okay.
Yeah, he says I've seen that in many cemeteries too. Are you? Oh no, oh no, she's asking somebody in there a question. So anyway, um, any more questions, guys? Because we're gonna get wrapping up here in a few minutes. So let us know. As you see, for a brief recap, we went through the Council of Nine. We went through what's this called again? I can't remember the doggone name, man.
Also, Order of Nine Angles.
Yeah,
And people can read all of my writings on the Order of Nine Angles. I did a couple shows on it too on my podcast, but also at my website, William Ramsey Investigates. If anybody wants a signed copy of my book.
oh yeah, yeah. And like I said before, the books are good, man. Oh, Abomination, the Damien Eccles and all that stuff. I guess next time you come back, we could talk about Damon Eccles and some of that stuff. Very
That's a
deep.
long show.
Yeah, yeah,
But the thing is that these characters, once you study them, you really can grasp what they're trying to achieve and how it ties right into biblical understanding. No question.
yeah, for sure.
So,
We are in the end times. We don't know when the hammer's going to fall and all that tribulation stuff starts. We don't know, but we know that we see the signs. We know that it's escalating through the occult. We have in Friday evening we're going to do a show on the rise of witchcraft and the occult in our culture, and we're going to go through some articles that will blow your mind. Okay, the pagan revival is real. It's been around for a long time, but it's just manifesting in a way that in Europe they're starting to worship the Norse gods again. Thor and all these people. So they're setting up the temples. They're going to wait, what's that? Stonehenge. They're going there and starting that up again. So we are close, people. Um, but let's continue praying for an awakening in the human soul as our days on this planet wind down. So anything else you want to say? Tell people where to find you and promote.
my Vimeo channel with my 5 documentaries is just, you can go to Vimeo and type in William Ramsey. They haven't censored me there yet. I feel like my YouTube channels are right on the edge of being pushed off a cliff. They're going through old videos of mine, and I
Yeah.
got a strike from a video I made like 3 years ago. So that might not be long. William Ramsey Investigates, my podcast. I did a show that they actually kept from going on, which I didn't think was possible. So that podcast is William Ramsey Investigates. And my books are on WilliamRamseyInvestigates.com and at Amazon.com. So if people want to read these books.
All right. So here's the Vimeo really quick.
Yeah, see if you can go to, yeah, that's it. I think it goes into my, the pay options. So then it will show the 5 videos. I don't know if you can do that from your side.
Pay option.
What do you do? Let's see if I can find that. So you go into Vimeo, and you go VOD pages. I think it's on-demand pages. William Ramsey would be it. I don't know if you can do.
I'm not, because I'm logged in here. I'm not sure what to do.
Those are not the documentary pages. Those are just my videos that I've also have on there.
Okay.
Maybe you can't pop it up. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't see where
My
that actually go.
But they're on there. My documentaries are on there somewhere. I don't know exactly where they are.
Okay, so pretty much on demand, and you have links on your website, right?
So you can go to William Ramsey Investigates, and I think if you just type in William Ramsey documentaries, it'll pop up on.
Okay, that stores here and whatnot. Yeah, so check this stuff out, people. I highly recommend it. Not a lot of people does this sort of research, and it's very interesting stuff. And as you see, the books aren't expensive and they're lengthy. So check it out. And guys, remember, preach the gospel. Thank you for joining me, William.
Chris, great to be with you again. Thanks for the invite.
Sure thing. Don't let them burn. Thanks for joining us. Been a good time.
Likewise, man. Have a great.
All right.